Today, you are going to get a front row seat to the ultimate Springboks versus Scotland Rugby World Cup preview. I'll be joined by a man who played for both teams during his playing days. He's also a former guest here on Front Row Rugby. John Allan, welcome back to Front Row Rugby.
Thank you, Peter. Lovely to be back. Look forward to a good World Cup coming up.
And so am I. John, let's begin with the Scottish side. And I know that at the time of this recording, they haven't actually announced their starting team and bench for the match against the Springboks. But just how good is this Scottish side?
Which, first of all, it's surprising they haven't mentioned or named their team. I think they're trying to play Russie's game, because normally Russie would hold back on mentioning his team, whether it's a 6-2 bench, 7-1 bench. But Russie's announced his team. So I think whether the Scotland guys are trying to say, do they believe Russie and what team he's announced, or are they just looking exactly what team that they're going to face so that they can try and fight fire with fire? But there's articles that are out there that some former rugby players, Scottish rugby players, for example, John Jeffrey, who played with myself in the 1990s and 1991 World Cup. So 1990, we won the Grand Slam, and 91 World Cup, we got to the semi-final. But he says that this current team is the best team that he's actually seen for Scottish rugby. So basically, he's saying it's better than his team that he played for, which did extremely well in the World Cup, getting to the semi-final. So I don't know. I'm not in Scotland, but I don't know what the feeling is for what with the fellow Scotsmen in the country. But certainly they've done Scotland proud over the last few years, and I think Gregor Townsend has built a team that play for one another, and it's a good mixture. I mean, there's the Bok Jocks that are in there as well. You know, the 5 South African-born players that'll give it that added spice, because they know the players from South Africa, and likewise the players from South Africa know them. But they certainly don't fear South Africa, and I think it'll be a tight game.
We've certainly seen Scotland improve tremendously in the last year or two when we watch the Six Nations. How many problems do you think they can cause us?
Look, the biggest challenge with Scotland is always depth. But this is the first game, so they have the depth for that first game. It's when they get injuries during the tournament, they may battle nearer the latter part of the tournament. So the opening game, I think it'll be relatively even in the scrums. I think the Springboks will have an edge with them slightly in the scrums, certainly in the driving mauls and the lineouts, but their lineouts will also be very relatively even. So to me, it's going to come back down to the back three, and Scotland's back three are not bad. I mean, there's like 2 South Africans in that back three, but South Africa's back three, they're normally the ones that turn the forwards, demolish them up front generally, and wear them down, and that's what South Africa will be looking to do against Scotland. So it'll take a while to wear them down, but I think they will wear them down in the end. And then it will rely on the back three of South Africa, whether they can actually put the final touches.
Now, as mentioned, we haven't yet seen the Scottish side announced, but we have seen the Springbok team. Something that I found quite interesting was Jasper Visser selected ahead of Duane Vermeulen as a starter. What are your thoughts about that?
I think Russie's saving Duane. Duane is, I think, 37 years old now, and to play a tournament, every game in the tournament will be difficult. He will use him off the bench, but I think he's saving him from a start to the latter half of the tour. And it also just depends how the dynamics go within the team then. So Scotland do move the ball a lot more than South Africa. And I think Jasper Visser, being a younger man, will be able to get around a bit more mobile than Duane. Obviously, Duane carries probably one of the best in the world. But I think that's the reason why Jasper's playing.
That said, though, John, when you look at the bomb squad strategy that the Springboks have successfully implemented, it's almost a case of 6 of the 8 guys play the first 40 minutes and the other 6 play the second 40 minutes. So from that perspective, does it really matter who starts and who's on the bench?
No, that's why. Some people are better off the bench than others. I mean, in the past, they used to say Malcolm Marx was better off the bench than Bongi, but I actually think it's the other way around. I much prefer Malk and Marks and that front row to start and bring the other front row on just to finish it off near the end. In the second half, I think Russie's got it right now, and that's the difference between what he's done in the past. He's kept the front rows and I think he's right, because front rows get to know one another. As a hooker, you get to know your loose head, you get to know your tight head, understand them. And the more and more you play together, the better that bond becomes and the better you understand them. And by rotating him, I didn't think it helped us in the past, even though he did well in the past. But I think he's keeping 3 and 3. And obviously depending on injuries, but it'll work better for them, I believe.
Okay, John, that's us looking at the forwards. Let's look at the backline now. Finn Russell, is he the danger man from a Scotland point of view?
They have backline players in a rugby team. I thought it was only forwards. Well, it should only be forwards, but I suppose you need, we carry the piano and they play the piano. That's the Philippe Seller told me that a long time ago. No, that Finn Russell is a magician when he's on song. When he's not on song, then problems happen, because he'll try a thing, and if it goes sour, it normally backfires. But when he's on song, he can perform magic, and that he would. If South Africa had one person to look out for, it would be Finn Russell, because he can be dangerous, and he's got that confidence and that temperament that he don't give a damn. He'll do anything, and if he sees that it's on, it's on. And whether a coach says it's not on or whoever says it's not on, he will do it, because he has that confidence. And I think in the past, Townsend Gregor tried to, keep him in his box, but then he realized he's wasting his time. Let him do what he does best, and that's where they've come to a better understanding between coach and fly half. And you can see Finn Russell has more freedom to do exactly what he wants.
And speaking of dangerous players, they've also got a decent wing. You may have heard of him, Duan van der Merwe. But I suppose the problem from his point of view is he has to actually receive the ball, doesn't he?
He does, and they do give him the ball. He's more of a John Allan type player. When he's got ball in hand, he demolishes and he does damage. But does he look for work? I believe he needs to look for more work to get the ball in hand, and I think he has worked on that in the last year or so. But as you say, he needs the ball in hand, and with our rush defense, sometimes that's going to be a bit more difficult for him to get ball in hand.
Do you really know your rugby? Do you always get your predictions right? Why not make some money then? Open an account right now with Tic Tac Bets and get up to 2,000 Rand and 20 spins with your first deposit. The link is appearing on your screen, and I'll also put it in the description area. Please note that this is an affiliate link and I will make a little commission on it. Winners know when to stop. National Responsible Gambling Program. Toll-free helpline 0800 006 008. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. The other challenge, I suppose, from Scotland's point of view is that you and I are both expecting the Springboks to dominate up front. So that means that every time Finn Russell and indeed van der Merwe receive the ball, almost certainly it's going to be a case of them receiving it going backwards, and that's not easy, is it?
Yeah, but as I said at the beginning, I don't think we will dominate at the beginning up front. We'll wear them down, but that's where the difference is. Our bomb squad comes on and our front three that are fresh, they don't have a front three on the bench like our front three on the bench, and that's when the game will change. And it just depends how the game's panning out then, which will make a difference at the end.
I grant you dominate was maybe a strong word. I'm wearing my Springbok cap here when I'm asking these questions. John, let's have a look at the Springbok backline a little bit now. Something that I found interesting was we've got Kurtley Arendse starting on the right wing and Cheslin Colby has moved to the left wing. Ordinarily, it would be the other way around. Should we read anything into that?
Well, I can't. I wouldn't know what they do out there. No, I didn't even know they swapped wings. I just saw wing and wing. That was me. And they're both similar players. So whether they play left or right, I don't think it makes a difference. The kicking nowadays, both of them kick with both feet. So I don't think that's the challenge. And then, you've got Damien Willemse behind you, and he can kick the ball as well. So if they need to kick, they'll probably give it to Willemse to kick.
All right, John. South Africa and Scotland have played each other twice before at the Rugby World Cup. In 1999, the Springboks won by 17 points. And then in 2015, the Boks won by 18 points. What's going to happen on Sunday?
It's going to be tight. I predicted 9 points. And it'll be to South Africa. And it'll be the 9 points will come in more in the latter half of the game. They'll take it away in the latter half of the game, but it will be close in the beginning.
Hey, if you're enjoying this video, why not consider becoming a patron? You can click on my Patreon link, I'll put it on the screen as well as in the description box, and there will be great benefits for members. Let's get back to the interview. South Africa have also won their last 7 in a row against the Scots, and I know that a lot of the players that will be playing on Sunday haven't played in all of those 7 because you're going back at least a decade in some cases. But tell me, John, history and statistics, those sorts of things, does it actually play on the minds of players?
It does. It does play. Not a huge part, because when you run on the field, you should believe that you're going to win. And that's the problem. It's the psyche. And in the past, certainly when I started playing for Scotland, I'll never forget, we were 1989. New Zealand had just won the World Cup in 87. We were playing them in New Zealand, and we were beating them 19-10, 10 minutes to go. So, and we were behind the poles. They had a penalty, and one of our locks said, I can't believe we beat New Zealand. And I turned around and said, that's what we're supposed to be doing. When you run on a field, you're supposed to beat the opposition. And that's the mentality that I was brought up in South Africa. But Scotland at the time didn't believe they could beat the likes of New Zealand and South Africa. They believed they could beat anyone else. But those two were a challenge or a red flag to them. I think it's changed a little bit now because they have beaten them the odd time, but it's not as bad then. But still, they will have that little awareness of those stats. And to me, and that's why I think what's going to happen is the reason I say South Africa will win, because I know South Africa, their total focus is to beat Scotland, to kickstart the World Cup. And Russie said that himself, both him and Jacques Nienaber. I was at a lunch just before they went overseas, it's a rugby legends lunch, and they said that exact words, that their total focus is being. They said that when they get over there, they're going to beat Wales, they're going to put New Zealand to the sword to get the psyche turned around and reverse because of the loss in New Zealand. And then they're going to, from that team that plays New Zealand, that will be the majority of the team that takes on Scotland. And that's how, because and he said the reason being, if they beat Scotland, it takes a little bit of pressure off them for the Irish game. Scotland, on the other hand, exact opposite. Scotland will go in against South Africa to try and will do their very best and start the tournament on a good note, to try and beat them. But as I said, I think South Africa will pip them more because they're going to focus. But Scotland's focus would be on Ireland, to beat Ireland. And the reason I say that is because they've played Ireland many times. They've beaten Ireland many times. So they don't have that psychological disadvantage. But more so, it's right at the end of the tournament. And South Africa play Ireland the week before they play Ireland. So South Africa will definitely go 100% against Ireland to come top of the tournament. And that might be difficult for Ireland to rise again the following week, where Scotland plays South Africa at the beginning and Ireland at the end. The games that they'll build up their confidence would be against Tonga and Romania. And I'm hoping that's the case, because if South Africa goes through as number 1 and Scotland beats Ireland, goes through as number 2, and my prediction is that France will top the tournament against New Zealand. And then the quarterfinal will be Scotland versus France. And again, they won't be scared of France because they beat them a couple of months ago. And we will play New Zealand, and we won't be scared of them. And if we win the quarterfinals, we will meet again in the final, because then we're going to play Australia, Wales, and Argentina. And that's my prediction for the World Cup. It's 250 to 1 because I've taken a bet. So it's a long shot prediction, but hopefully my stars are aligned and that happens.
I love it. I've actually got a South Africa-France final, so you and I will compare notes at the end of the tournament, no doubt, John. So let me ask you, on the topic of Rugby World Cups, and you did mention it earlier there about the 1991 Scottish team, and we were just talking about self-belief. In that 91 tournament, how close do you think Scotland were to actually winning that tournament?
You know, we had played England in 1990 and beat them in the Grand Slam at Murrayfield. The semi-final was exact replica of that. It was against England at Murrayfield. I think England were a bit more sucked up for that game because of the loss the previous year when we won the Grand Slam. But it was even Stevens the whole game. I mean, it was 6-6. For most of it was a tight game. There wasn't much in it. There was just kicks that got over. And we actually got a penalty about, I think it was 10 minutes before the end, while it was 6-6, virtually under the poles. And Gavin Hastings, our kicker, who generally was outstanding that whole World Cup, actually hooked the ball. It was just one of those bad kicks that missed. It actually went like a banana. And they from that kickoff from there, they actually got into our half. And I think it was 5 minutes before the end, they put a drop kick over. Rob Andrews put a drop kick over to go 9-6 ahead. And still, we believed that we could beat them. I mean, I'll never forget, in the last minute, I was running down the touchline with John Jeffries, passing it inside. He then got the ball back, and he just put his foot out of touch just before the try line. I mean, it was minuscule, but like that tackle that Rousseau did on the Englishman when we won the final in 2007, it was similar to that. Foot went into touch, and we lost that was their line out. They won the line out to win the game, and then they won the game, final whistle, but it could have gone the other way. And for us, we would have played against Australia, and at that stage, Scotland were not scared of Australia, and it would have been, I think it would have been an even game, similar to, I think Australia outthought England the way, because England tried to play a different game. So I think they got into their psyche. It's very hard to get into a Scotsman's psyche. So I think it would have been it possibly could have gone Scotland's way because, and then we played New Zealand in the playoffs, and that was a close game as well. It was within a try was the difference.
I want to ask you one more question, John, about kicking. So Gavin Hastings, as you mentioned there, a man that usually would slot kicks like that in his sleep, and he was an outstanding goal kicker. South Africa have got Marnie Lebok, who's going to be our chief goal kicker at this Rugby World Cup. And in the last test match against the All Blacks, he was perfect. But the test before that against Wales, he was rather inconsistent. Now, on that note, when a kicker misses kicks, what kind of effect does that have on the other players, especially when it's a so-called easy kick?
Yeah, well, I think the players are trying to help them. They're trying to bring the tries closer to the poles. It's much easier to kick it over the poles. No, in seriousness, kickers are another breeder. And fortunately, and that's what I believe, that Marnie Lebok does not get down when he misses a kick. Even if he's missed 4 kicks, he'll still believe the next kick he'll slot it over, even if it's from the touchline. And I think that's a good quality. It is a worry for both spectators and teammates, that you worry that you don't have an 80% all the time kicker, or you can guarantee it's 80%. But I think, the New Zealand game, he was outstanding there, and he has been outstanding in the past. And so the bottom line is, if he is missing, then just start scoring tries or go for drop kicks or something like that, maybe. But it is, if there's any weakness in the South African setup, it's that possibility that his kicking boots aren't on in the day. Other than that, I don't think there's a weakness.
Sounds good to me. John, I'm looking forward to the match on Sunday, South Africa-Scotland. You and I have made our predictions, and I want to say it was lovely having you on Front Row Rugby again, and hopefully we can have you on again in the future.
Yeah, no, Sunday, or today I'm wearing the Springbok jersey because it's Bok Friday here in South Africa, so everyone's wearing their Bok outfits. But on Sunday, I'll be wearing both Springbok and Scottish outfits. And to me, people ask me, surely it must be a worry when you watch them play. I said, no, it's the best day of my life. Because when I wake up in the morning, I know I'm a winner. It doesn't matter the result. I'll win either way. And I enjoy the whole day. I just hope it's a good game of rugby. And I prefer it when it's tighter and no one wins just a walk away. But it's a fantastic day for me to watch, because I sing both anthems, and it'll be a good opener for both teams, and I think it's fantastic.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I've put together a series of Rugby World Cup related content, and you can click on that playlist right now. John Allan, as mentioned, was also a guest on this show previously, and his video is also appearing on the screen right now. See you next time.